Okay, another short-ish video for you today. I realized that my last videos actually weren't that short, but of a male model, pretty much standing pose from the back this time. But today I want to take more of like an anatomical look at it as opposed to gesture. So let's jump in. Do my usual. Mark the top of the head. Well, when I'm drawing in this way, at least, when it's more of a stiff kind of, I don't know, anatomical study, I usually start like this. I'm also using, by the way, I don't know if you can see on the camera, Robert Beverly Hale's cranial units that I printed out and put behind newsprint to give myself a kind of a template of the proportions of everything. This is really good for students, as we've been doing in the classes, in my anatomy classes. So, start with the top of the head, bottom of the feet. I'm gonna just get a bit of a angle of what I think the pelvis is doing. I'm gonna put my vertical in. I usually do before this actually. So angle of the bottom of the pelvis. I'm gonna jump up to the top of the rib cage, but this time it's a bit more difficult because we're seeing, we're obviously not seeing the sternum or anything like that. And we can't really, especially with this model because it's pretty muscular, we're also not seeing the clavicles. Well, you wouldn't anyway, whatever the model. But actually, sorry, concentrate on this. Yes, actually the axis is more vertical, more horizontal really. Then, I'm actually not going to map, sort of lay in the whole head. I'm just going to give a circle for the cranium. Looks like he's slightly to the side of the vertical that I put in. That I put on top of the figure. So that's his cranium. That's not the whole head, that's just the cranium. And then I want to work down from there to find the C7, what we've been talking about in class. Now remember, because people keep forgetting this, I forget this as well, that the C7 is higher than the pit of the neck, pit of the neck on the front. So that's why this C7 I'm putting quite high in this cranial unit box. It doesn't really go bottom of the cranium and then another cranial unit down finds C7, it's a bit above. But also he might deviate slightly from the average that we've been studying. Okay, so I'm gonna, before going into the bones and things, I'm gonna rough out the general shape that I think his torso is making. So it's gonna be more of a V shape because he's pretty big, this guy. So I'm gonna exclude, I'm not too worried too much about arms yet, but the V shape is actually made up mainly by the latissimus dorsi muscle. Oh yeah, I've got this, by the way, I should be referring to this. So there's the C7, don't know if you can see that one here. That kind of the biggest cervical vertebrae that's sticking out. Now this that I'm mapping in is this muscle, the latissimus muscle, with obviously flesh on top, but it's pretty pronounced on him, so it's making this kind of V shape as it is on the anatomical model as well. Right, so down, it's hard to talk and draw at the same time. Okay, down, right, so that's, in theory, that's the bottom of his rib cage, if he fits into this. Then from here, actually, start the glute muscles. So let me get this in. I'll go up here and continue around for the general shape of the top of the torso. So trapezius muscle I'm now kind of gesturing in. A little bit of pecs on the front you can't see on this this anatomical model, but the shape kind of swings back and then out again, comes along there, and then yeah, this is all glutes, and then it's legs that we won't do yet. So the torso is including glutes, so also torso plus pelvis. Well, yeah, torso. It's kind of this shape I'm seeing. So let me make it even simpler. C7 is there, yeah, that's right. Trapezius makes that kind of shape. Arms that are gonna come out there, but we won't do them yet. We just want to get the torso. Yeah, this kind of shape. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, that's his pubic bone on the front, but glutes come down a little bit lower than the pubic bone. That's why I've put these glutes lower than my center, my horizontal center line, the middle of the figure. So let's now do the center line, which on the back is a little bit, yeah, you could say a tiny bit easier than on the front, because it's the spine. So the spine comes from his skull, from his cranium, cervical, then there's the C7 that I talked about. So I'm coming down here for C7. What are we on? 6 minutes. Thoracic spine. Yeah, it's pretty much in the middle of that box. I'm kind of falling back on the grid system, I'm a bit cheeky. Curves in a bit as we get into the lumbar spine, and then comes out on the curving around the other side, so it's kind of an S shape, that kind of shape, to find these two dimples, which are the PCIS, which is an acronym, or in other words, kind of where the iliac crest starts, or actually easier without all the Latin jargon, the sacrum, also Latin, but the tailbone, which is there, comes that way, which kind of makes an arrow, a bit like that. And that's the spine going up. Okay, so either side of the tailbone, which is basically a big arrow pointing to the floor. Yeah, I think I've done that low enough. Got glutes. I think I go into that box a bit too much. So he's turning a bit. So this side is larger than that side, because we're kind of looking at it as in 3/4. Okay, let's get in this kind of shape. Now, torso, let's just build up a bit of the musculature. The other really tricky bones that we'll talk about in the upcoming sessions for my anatomy students. I think that sweeps in more actually. The scapulars. So it's really hard to see, unless the model's really, really thin, it's really hard to map out, I find this tricky anyway, where they could be. But I'm going to simplify this a lot and say they're about here, but you can then kind of, as you put muscles on top, it will then help you work backwards and find the kind of, I don't know, self-assess where you've put the scapulars. Something like that, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to put muscles on top and then see if that looks like it's right. So, as we said, trapezius, which attaches on the top of his, or on the back of his cranium, I should say, back of his skull, that go down. Actually, a little bit of sternocleidomastoid that we're seeing, but it's mainly trapezius. Comes out. It's good to make the noises as well. Where's the corner of my box? There. Trapezius. Oh, actually, at this point, I think I will just get in a bit of the arm, at least. Let's just quickly kind of map in the gesture, going out there, in line with there, in line with the bottom of his rib cage, and then swooping back in, and we can't see his hand. Yeah, to about there. It's kind of what the bone is. It's kind of the outside of his arm. It's kind of what the bone is doing. The bones. The other arm, let's get that in. So if that's the scapula, that means his shoulder joint attaches kind of on the outside of that scapula, where it goes around to meet the collarbone on the other side. So yeah, you can never see the top of humeruses, top of upper arm bones, but I'm going to guess it's about there. So his arm bones, the kind of armature of him, would be something like, move that mouse out of the way, would be something like, comes down, it almost reaches the bottom of his rib cage, which is this. So to about there, and then he's reaching up, foreshortened upper arm that's grabbing onto that sword, which is resting on his shoulders. So it's going that way, but I'm going to stick to back stuff today. Cranium, like I said, trapezius that's attaching on the back of the cranium, going down, working down to there. This is this muscle I'm doing now, here. Sorry, you can see that. And I'm going for this muscle that's going from the top of his skull down here. Trapezius, coming down to there. deltoid that's wrapping, going onto the scapula. We'll talk more about this. And wrapping all around there. But we'll go into this more when we do the arm day in a few weeks. Yeah, and I think I'll leave that for now because I want to concentrate on the back still. Then let's continue with the trapezius. So to there, along the scapula, to there, kind of flattens out in this pose, but it's going to be attaching. It's this muscle that I'm doing now, this trapezius, this kind of kite-shaped muscle. So it's attaching down there, pretty much at the bottom of the. If you turn him around, kind of lines up with, well, actually a bit lower than the bottom of his sternum. There. In theory, the bottom of his sternum is there. It's on the other side, so down to like there. It's probably better. Trapezius on this side, kind of slopping over the edge of the scapula. Same thing because they're symmetrical, so again attaching down there, but we're actually seeing more of this side because of the angle of his torso. Let's get some shoulders in, because the shoulders are definitely also back muscles, because they definitely are seen on the scapula. The bulky part that you see on people is kind of more there. Now let me get in this, let me kind of solidify this this latissimus muscle a bit better. Swooping in, and then, so this is this, right? Latissimus, and then there's a slither of this muscle, this oblique muscle that you can see on the back as well. It's mainly a side muscle. Can't get this guy's arm out of the way. It's mainly a side muscle, definitely visible from the front a lot, and it's all along the side. But you also see it, well, depending on the model, but you can also see it from the back, like on this guy. You can see it. So there it is, attaching up. Well, hang on, I should finish this first. Lats go all the way down to the sacrum. Where am I looking? Right there, the reference there. Bit of slither of oblique muscles, and then glutes that we'll talk about more in depth in a few weeks. I won't go into too much. Let me finish the other side of this. So, again, lats attaching on the humerus actually, which I did quite lightly. Swooping, so they'll be about there, sweeping back, and they're symmetrical as well. So on the model they're kind of softened, but if I look at this is why I like these models. They go all the way back. There doesn't leave much space for obliques. Sorry, get my hand out of the way. You can see there. But they sweep back quite low, so let's go for this, about there. So that means this on the model is kind of softened, but we know this is going to be maybe a slight fat pad, but also obliques. Iliac crest, which is this thing, basically the top of the pelvis from the back, would be this kind of shape. And then we just see a little slither that lines up there, which makes sense. We see a little slither of asis or hip bone on this model, just peeking out from there. And then legs, but I don't think I'll get into legs today. I'll stick with just that so it doesn't become too long a video. So let me get in a bit of more, since we've done head and neck already, I'll get in a bit more of the head. That's the cranium. Where is it? Just the cranium, not the kind of face part of the skull, but just the round part where the brain is, that ends. And so this is this. That's where the trapezius comes from, going down, all the way down all the way down the spine. Well, not all the way, but kind of down the thoracic spine, which is the middle portion. And then it stops. But we also see something called, that we've been through, this sternocleidomastoid muscle coming from the back, behind the ear, on the skull. That muscle slips down and attaches, well, that we can't see on this model, but it attaches at the pit of the neck. So that's what this is that we're seeing a bit of, apart from the jaw, ignoring the jaw for a sec. From this ear that goes back to there. Sternocleidomastoid, and then yeah, so like I was saying, this is all trapezius. So, to sum up, trapezius, latissimus dorsi, this, coming from the humerus, the upper arm bone that we can't see on this model, coming round and attaching down the sacrum or the tailbone. So I do it on this side first. Oh, reference has gone off. So it was down here, and on the other side, from there, didn't talk about where it attaches at the top as well. It leaves a little slither of another muscle that I won't go into today, but it attaches underneath. You don't really see, well, you definitely don't see on human bodies with flesh, but like underneath where the where the trapezius attaches. So same thing here, can you see that? So coming out, there's the trapezius on the top, the kite shape. This one goes along the scapula and then underneath that trapezius. Same for this side, kind of like a band. And then scapular muscles, let's just lump it all together for today. So deltoid and everything else I'll talk about in another video. And then this little slither of obliques. Okay, hope it helps, and I'll see you in the next video.